This is ASMR Lab Rat, and as some of you know, I recently went on a mini road trip over the recent July 4th holiday weekend, and I spent the 4th of July in the city of Blaine, Washington, which is right next to the Canada border. Got to enjoy some fireworks in Blaine. And then the next morning, I drove into Canada, where I spent the next couple of days just sort of driving around and looking at stuff. So I thought I would take this opportunity to share some of my photos from that road trip. And hopefully you will find this either interesting or relaxing, or both. I don't even care if it's neither. Anyway, here we go. Now, this picture was taken while I was driving north on Interstate 5. This must have been somewhere around Everett, Washington. And before I say anything else, I would like to say to some of the younger viewers that I do not at all recommend taking pictures while driving. Yes, obviously, this is what I did, and this was not the first of such attempts on this road trip. But I do know the dangers of doing this, and yeah, it's pretty basically all I can say. Just it is dangerous. It forces you to take your eyes off the road for a split second, and the truth is, anything can happen in that split second. So it is definitely not a good idea, and I just felt like I should say that just because, obviously I'm doing it and taking risks, but just wanted you to know that it is dangerous and that I'm aware that it's dangerous. Anyway, so having said that, if you're wondering why I decided to take a picture of this old Volkswagen bus, well, if you're a fan of Lost, then you'll recognize it as a Dharma van. If you're a fan of Back to the Future, you'll recognize it as the Libyans van. And I happen to be a fan of both, so it was really exciting for me to see this Volkswagen van. So I just had to take a picture of it. Now this is the I-5 Skagit River Bridge. Now, back in May, this bridge, or a section of this bridge, collapsed, and 3 cars went into the river. Thankfully, no one was killed, but they had to take the drivers of those vehicles to the hospital, and there was this big investigation. This is a really old bridge, and it was already kind of falling apart. And what they had to do is they actually built this temporary section of the bridge. From what I know, they're actually planning to just tear down and rebuild the bridge from scratch. But they had to build this temporary section just to, it is a main highway that connects major parts of Washington State. In fact, it actually connects 2 cities, Mount Vernon and Burlington. And so it's a major inconvenience to not be able to cross that bridge. So I actually came to this spot just a few days after the bridge collapsed, just to take a look at it. And so I decided, since I was already driving this way anyway, I decided to stop and come back to the same spot and see the fix. And so that's what I was doing here. And yep, that's me trying to sit on a dead branch. Now, the reason I have such a worried or messed up expression is because the branch that I'm sitting on was actually breaking, and I did not expect that to happen because I actually sat on that same branch the first time I came to the spot to see the collapsed bridge, and it was fine then, but I guess just after 6 weeks, it I don't know, maybe just because of the weather or just whatever conditions, it obviously weakened, and yeah, I didn't even bother to check that it was stable. I just kind of set the camera timer and then ran over and sat on it, and it actually was in the process of breaking, and I wasn't expecting it, and then the camera snapped the picture, and this is the result. And this, yep, that's, I'm taking pictures while driving again. This is driving on the bridge, approaching the temporary section. And this is driving on the temporary section. As you can see, it's obviously newly paved. And this is continuing north on I-5 through, I think this is, it's either Skagit County or Whatcom County, or somewhere around the border between the two counties. And I took this picture because this part of Washington, the northwest corner of Washington, this is pretty typical. This is what the scenery looks like, especially this time of year. It's one of the things I enjoy about living in Washington. It's just, I don't know, no matter where you drive, you get to see this beautiful scenery. And if you live in California or Oregon, you probably think of I-5 as a really boring highway. But this is what I-5 looks like in Washington. This is the city of Blaine. I arrived there probably about a little bit after 6 o'clock in the evening, and it was actually my first time driving through downtown Blaine. I mean, I've driven through Blaine on a few of the previous times I visited Canada, but that was basically it. Just kind of drove through, stayed on I-5. So this is my first time actually getting to see more of the city, and I guess most of you don't know that I have this weird thing where I like to take pictures of myself sitting on benches. It's just something. It's something I've been doing for like the last 10 years, and I don't really have a good explanation for why I have this weird obsession. But it's just kind of something I do. Yeah. This is the Anchor Inn Motel where I spent that night. Yep, it is a really cheap motel. which is totally appropriate for me since I'm traveling alone and I don't really need fancy accommodations. I just basically I need a place to sleep. Um, they actually upgraded me to a kitchen suite, even though I didn't request one, and they gave it to me for the same standard rate as a regular room. I guess they just ran out of rooms. And so I didn't use the kitchen at all, but it was there. And I like this sign. Um, Obviously, when they put up unusual signs like this, there's a reason for it. And yeah, I guess I'm assuming that some people cooked some fish or crab and stunk up the place, and it was hard to get the stink out. That's just my guess. It's a nice view of the harbor in Blaine. As you can see, we're getting further into the evening. Um, and the sun is about to set. And people are starting to camp out to get ready to watch the fireworks. A nice sunset. This was yeah, this is right around sunset. I think this was just after I ate dinner. I had dinner at a Mexican restaurant, which is like the only thing that was open at that hour. This is like, it was after 9 o'clock. Oh, yeah, there's me on another bench, and you can kind of see that there's a crowd up by in the background by the waterfront, trying to find their spots to watch fireworks. And me, I'm still just kind of wandering around because I'm bored. And yeah, this is shortly after sunset, but you can see the after effects on the clouds in the sky. And I'm actually I'm actually facing, I believe it's White Rock, British Columbia. So I mean, that's definitely part of Canada that we're seeing there. So yeah, the sun has just set beyond Canada. So after it got dark, the fireworks show started around 10:30. Yeah, this yeah, it has to start really late in the evening just because that's when the sun goes down. It doesn't get dark until after 10. And it was a really good fireworks show. And so that's all I can really say about that. Yeah, I guess I may have tried to take a few pictures, but if you've ever tried to take pictures during a fireworks show, you know they usually don't come out. So whatever pictures I took aren't even really worth showing. So then came back to my motel, and this is a view of from the motels. I guess you would call it a living room, facing the bedroom where I actually slept. And I would actually hate to be the person sleeping in this extra bed outside the bedroom, because the refrigerator is really noisy, and it's right next to the front door, and it's, thin walls and thin doors, so, any noise going on outside, it would just most likely keep you awake. And if you saw my July 4th 200 subscriber special, that room was where I recorded the main section of that video. So, the next morning, I checked out of the motel and ate breakfast, and then drove across the border and had to wait in line for about maybe 45 minutes to an hour. And so this is the picture I took while waiting in line, and there's you can see the Peace Arch, which actually marks the U.S.-Canada border. And I call this the Border Patrol. There's a crow there looking for some international leftovers on the ground, or spying on cars. And this is after I crossed the border into British Columbia, and this is the new British Columbia Visitor Center. I'm not sure exactly when it was built, but I know it was sometime in the last 7 years, because it was not there when I visited Canada 7 years ago. I mean, there actually was a visitor center there, but they completely tore it down and rebuilt it from scratch, and it's really nice inside now, and so yeah. Now this is a place called Steveston Village, located in at the southern end of the city of Richmond, British Columbia. And the reason I decided to go there was because this is where they filmed the TV show Once Upon a Time, which is something I've recently become a fan of. And it's funny. The show actually takes place in a small town in Maine, but it's filmed in Richmond, British Columbia. And so yeah, I just thought it was kind of cool just to go there and just take a look and see if I can recognize some of the filming locations. This building over here on the right is probably the one I recognize the most. It looks, all the buildings look a lot different than they do on the show, because they cover up most of the signs to make it look like the town that it's supposed to be on the show. And then, of course, I got to do a bench picture, and another bench picture, and another bench picture. Actually, this location I know has been used on the show a lot. And in fact, I can recall that there have been scenes where characters have sat on these benches and just kind of stared out at the water. And so, yeah, I spent about an hour there, and then I continued north, and then I eventually drove into Vancouver. And this is a picture I took while driving into downtown Vancouver. And the thing is, this was Friday late afternoon, right in the middle of the worst rush hour traffic of the week. And so it just took forever to get across the city, and it was just really frustrating and exhausting. So, but this picture is how I would prefer to remember my drive through Vancouver. This is Stanley Park in Vancouver. And what I'm looking at here is the Lions Gate Bridge, which connects Vancouver with the city of North Vancouver. And, yep, that is me on the bench. Family of Canadian geese crossing the road, forcing cars to stop for them. And here's a close-up of the family of geese. And here I go, driving onto the Lionsgate Bridge. So I'm driving into North Vancouver. And from there, oh yeah, I actually ate late lunch at McDonald's in West Vancouver. And then after that, I continued driving north on Highway 99 toward Whistler. This is the highway that leads to Whistler, and as you can see, it's really scenic, which is kind of the main reason I wanted to drive on this road. This is actually my first time on this particular highway. I'd never been to Whistler before, or I'd been the last time I was in Canada. I drove around most of the Vancouver area and then drove up Highway 97 up to Prince George and from there up to Fort St. John. So that was a totally different route, and so this is my first time on Highway 99, and so. And then I stopped for the night in the city of Squamish, and this was my hotel. I stayed at the Hotel Squamish, and requested a room for one person, and that's what they gave me. It was actually kind of neat. I mean, it wasn't exactly the most comfortable bed, and there was no AC in the hotel, which kind of surprised me, but I guess they would only need AC for only a few days out of the year. So I guess that would make sense. From the outside of the building, I do have a photo of the outside, which I'll show you in a little bit. But it's obviously a really old building. It's right in the middle of the historic old section of downtown Squamish. But you can tell they've done a lot of remodeling and refurbishing, and so it feels new when you walk in the actual room. And so I actually liked this room, even though it's obviously tiny, but it's perfect for me since I'm traveling alone. And I recorded the intro for my 200 subscriber special in the bathroom of this hotel room. I mean the washroom, because it's in Canada. And here's a view out my window. Yeah, the city of Squamish is surrounded by tall mountains. And it's a small town. So not very many people around. And here's downtown Squamish, just the main street that goes through it. Oh yeah, I think I took this the next morning. There's the outside of the Hotel Squamish, and so it's connected to that liquor store, and there's a bar over on the side. And so that's the building. This is Chef Big D's, where I ate breakfast that morning. It was actually pretty crowded in there. I think it's one of the few restaurants in town that's open for breakfast. Um, it's good food from what I remember, and really friendly service. And I think it seems pretty obvious that it was a family-run business, or at least all of the employees working there looked like a big family. Um, they had a farmer's market and a jazz band playing there, and so I decided to just kind of walk over there and take a look. I only spent a few minutes looking around. I wasn't really that interested. Plus, I decided I wanted to continue up driving toward Whistler, and so that's what I did after this. Now, if you haven't figured out by now, my road trips tend to be more about the drive than the destination. And so that's why I like to stop a lot and look around and just try to enjoy whatever there is on the way, whatever scenery there is, or tourist attractions. And so whenever there's a viewpoint or a view area off the side of the road, I like to stop and see what it's about and take pictures. This is a viewpoint along Highway 99 on the way from Squamish to Whistler. And this is a picture I took as I was driving through the parking lot and kind of looking back over my shoulder, looking back at the highway just because I thought it looked kind of neat. And so I parked and got out and took a few pictures like this one. Looking over it, I honestly do not know what mountains these are. I just thought they looked really cool. Yeah, obviously you can see there's a lot of snow on those mountains, even though it's the middle of summer. But that just, it's just an indication of just how high, how tall those mountains are. There's another shot looking, there's another view. And here's another, it's kind of a interesting looking bench, so I decided to take advantage of it and take a bench picture. And that's actually my car in the background, that white Acura RSX. I've had it for 10 years, almost 11 years. Put a lot of miles on that car, mostly from road trips. Another bench picture with those mountains in the background. Well, that's not a bench, but a lot of times I like to use other objects as benches. And this timing actually worked out because just as I was getting in my car to leave, a bunch of people showed up. And yeah, and so they totally would have been in my way if they'd been there when I was trying to take pictures. Plus, I feel weird doing my bench pictures in front of other people. This is I saw a lot of signs like this, where they have the name of the names of the cities, and then they actually have the their names in the local native tribal, I guess they call them First Nation tribes. It's one of them is Squamish, and the other is I forget what. But yeah, it's kind of a neat way to honor the First Nation tribes or people, or whatever the appropriate terminology is in that region. And this is a little bit further north, I guess kind of approaching Whistler. And this is Whistler, more specifically Whistler Village, which I guess is fairly new, and basically was they built it for the 2010 Winter Olympics. As you can see, that monument is actually the symbol of the 2010 Winter Olympics, which was what took place in Whistler. And as you can see, I'm using it as a bench. This is actually one of my favorite pictures that I took on this road trip. And I just decided to just kind of walk around Whistler Village just because I was there. And it was really crowded that day. It was a Saturday with perfect weather in July, and so naturally it would be crowded. And yet I managed to get a bench picture amidst the crowd without anybody giving me any weird looks, at least not that I noticed. And this is the type of outdoor recreation that happens at Whistler in the summer. They basically turn part of the ski slope into a mountain bike slope. And yes, those ski lifts are operational. That's how they get the bikers up the hill. So I spent a little less than an hour at Whistler Village because I only bought an hour worth of parking. And then I started to head back. And I stopped at other viewpoints, because the viewpoints are different because they're on different sides of the road. And so this is one of those viewpoints. And yep, bench and power lines in the background. And this is actually south of Squamish. Yeah, because I remember I stopped by and ate lunch at the Subway in Squamish, and then continued on. And so this is, and I decided to take a picture of my car against that background. Lots of really awesome viewpoints. And those are a bunch of islands in the background. I mean, it should be obvious by now why I wanted to take this road trip. And then this is kind of back in the Vancouver area. I don't think this is the city of Vancouver. I think it's like a little bit east of Vancouver. But this is I'm basically just trying to bypass the city of Vancouver on my way back home. So I ended up driving through a few other parts of the greater Vancouver area, parts that I'd actually, cities that I've actually been to before, like North Vancouver, Burnaby, New Westminster. And I stopped by Starbucks in New Westminster because I needed my caffeine fix before crossing the border. And then I continued driving through New Westminster, and this bridge that you see here actually connects New Westminster with Surrey. And this is as I'm driving over that bridge. And this basically goes through the town of Surrey, and then eventually merges with Highway 99 just before crossing the border. And so this was how I went. This was how I went home, basically. And so across the border, and then you end up on back in the U.S. on Interstate 5, and that's basically how I came back home. And got home shortly after 10:30 on Saturday night, and that was my road trip. So it was definitely a really nice short road trip, and I'm glad I did it. Which I can pretty much say about most of the other road trips I've done throughout my life, or my adult life anyway. If you are at all interested in knowing about other places I visited throughout my life, you can actually check out a video here on my channel called Map My Life, where I just basically give you a tour of the places I've lived and places I've traveled to on a map of North America. And so that's something I recorded a couple of months ago, just in case you are at all curious. And so if you're still listening, then I guess that means you found it somewhat interesting. And so hope you're having a good evening, and I will talk to you later. Thanks for watching.